shut the floor again. Low romance and low corruption is your recipe. The answer is, I'll endure it. Just then, my father's voice interrupted the tension. His uninvited chatter was an effort, perhaps to keep us from drawing our swords quickly.
Chizuru, なぜわからないんだ。沖田君がいる今はいい。だが彼が死んだ後、お前はどうするつもりなんだ?
No amount of convincing myself could adequately prepare me to accept that possibility.
鬼の一族だということを知られれば、お前は人間たちからどんな目に遭わされるか。私はお前にあの頃のような辛い思いをさせたくはないのだよ。
Father, it pained me to watch my father, the man who raised me, assign such a fate to me. But still, I could only shake my head. I can't.
分かり合えるはずがないよな。所詮、俺たちは生きてきた世界が違うんだ。
I nodded. Crowder was right. It was unlikely for us to see eye to eye about this. I had no plans to relent.
おじさんも、もう諦めなよ。こいつらは俺たちの仲間にはならない。仲間じゃないってことは敵ってことだ。こいつらを生かしておく理由もないさ。
しかし。
My father, rather surprisingly, seemed hesitant to agree with Crowder's act of condemnation. I was sure that he was still clinging to the hope that his daughter would never become his enemy. He would always be father to me, but why had he changed so drastically? Father, I've made up my mind.
Chizuru.
He stared back at me with a twinkle of hope.
でもさ、おじさん。妹の目を覚まさせる手がないってわけじゃないよ。
カオル君?
Father dubiously furrowed his brows. With that, Kaoru unsheathed his sword.
妹をたぶらかす悪い男を殺してやれば、もしかしたら目を覚ますかもね。
Kaoru! Kaoru pointed the tip of his blade straight at Okita.
千鶴、お前はその男に何を吹き込まれたんだ?
No, Father, it's not like that.
お前の思い人を目の前で殺すのは気が進まんが。
Father closed his eyes. In the next moment, I became paralyzed with fear at the terrifying display that was happening to Father. His eyes radiated gold, and from his forehead grew a massive horn splitting the surface of his skin. Father, that's...
カオル君に聞かなかったのかい? 純血の鬼ではないこの私も改良した落ち水さえ飲めば鬼本来の力を取り戻せるのだよ。
No, you drank the water of life?
その通りだ。この薬さえあれば我々は野生一族や風間一族をもしのぐ新たな鬼の盟主となれるのだよ。
I couldn't stop shaking. My power was drunk with the... what? My power was drunk with the power of the Fury. He had no regrets. Perhaps he didn't even give it a second thought about corrupting humans into these monsters. He was seduced by the potential for glory. My father, the kind-hearted man that I used to love, was no more. Okita placed his hand gently atop my shoulder.
大丈夫だよ。君は何も考えなくていい。君のことは絶対に守るから。僕を信じて。
Okita. After winking wryly, Okita drew his sword, and then in the blink of an eye, his hair transformed white.
一つ聞いてもいいかな。行動さんは行方をくらませた後もずっと落ち水の研究を続けてたんだよね。落ち水の毒を消す方法は見つかったの？それとも。
それは。
As father began to answer, Kaoru chimed in.
仮に見つかったとしても俺たちが素直に答えると思うか。どうしても知りたいんなら力ずくで言わせてごらん。
そう、わかった。それじゃそろそろ始めようか。千鶴ちゃん、下がってて。
Okita spoke curtly, and I tepidly distanced myself. Then, suddenly, one of them, no, it must have been both of them, their feet thunderously kicked from the ground, cracking the dirt beneath them as they lunged. The metallic clash of their blades echoed like a banshee as the space around them filled with sparks. As if Okita weren't preoccupied enough, my father gripped a handful of scalpels, throwing each one angrily at Okita like a kunai blade. Okita instantly swiped them out of harm's way with the swing of his sword.
Kaoru!
Kaoru fought desperately to find an opening in Okita's defense, but Okita parried each of his strikes easily. Their swords hammered deafeningly with each clash. Okita smirked brightly, despite fending off two demons. To top it off, Kaoru, whose pedigree was similar to Kazuma's as a pure-blooded demon, failed to gain the upper hand on Okita, despite his best efforts.
たくもう、鬱陶しいな。ごめんごめん。なんだかんだ言っても彼女の育てのお父さんだし、多少は手加減してあげるつもりだったんだけど、1対1の戦いに水を刺されるのも鬱陶しいからさ。
俺、人間ごときが。
ますます腕を上げたみたいだね、起きた。それだけ俺の妹を大切に思ってくれてるってことなのかな。兄として礼を言っておくよ。
別に君にお礼なんて言われても嬉しくもなんともないんだけど。
The air surrounding Okita and Kaoru suddenly became thick with tension, and watching from the sidelines, I couldn't think of interfering if I wanted to. They continued to trade blows ferociously. Their blades were now starting to meet flesh, each strike preceding a painful splurt of blood. As the scent of blood became stronger, so too did Okita's thirst, and his breathing became rugged. Could he continue fighting in these conditions? Could Okita triumph over both father and Kaoru? I had to keep telling myself to keep my faith, but no matter what, anxious thoughts crept in.
そろそろ覚悟はいいよね。もう殺すよ。
His words were so blithe that I was sure they could have just as easily been directed at me. I think he was preparing me to accept the death of both my father and my brother. Was I truly ready to see them die? I silently nodded. Although I did not confirm aloud, I had a feeling that Okita would understand. The next strike would determine everything.
人間ごときが小作だ。
Another handful of scalpels came flying towards Okita from father. Kaoru took advantage of the timing of this distraction by leaping forward with his sword, but his charge was not aimed for Okita. It was aimed for me.
誰より憎んでるのは 妹を奪った沖田じゃなくて。
Suddenly, a white blade appeared before my eyes.
俺を裏切ったお前だよ。
I had scarcely any time to avoid his sword.
カオル、やめろ！
Okita cried out desperately from behind Kaoru, the latter of whom grinned dementedly. After deflecting an incoming scalpel, Okita kicked against the ground. He fervently rushed to meet Kaoru's advance. Kaoru, however, already had his sword right above me. A gleam sparkled ominously from the white blade, and I clenched and anticipated of it meeting my shoulder. My head shook intensely as the blade split the surface. Blood splattered onto my forehead and eyelids. I could only see Kaoru through the bloody haze. But by a stroke of luck, the wound hit no vital points, and my flesh would hopefully heal soon. Kaoru flipped his sword, pointed the blood-stained tip at Okita once more. Okita! Okita assumed a defensive stance. I saw both his and Kaoru's shadow cross one another. However, while I had anticipated another roaring clang of swords meeting, what I heard was the sound of flesh being torn asunder. Kaoru struggled to keep his footing, gasping for air. Then he collapsed to his knees and suppressed the instinct to cry out madly in pain.
地獄への道連れとしちゃ不足だが、まあそれでもいいか。大切なものを奪われる悲しみや怒りをお前にもう一度味わわせてやれるんだからな。お前が悪いんだよ、シズル。俺たちを捨ててこんなやつを選んだりするから。
Kaoru suddenly stopped shaking, becoming as still as water before flashing a smile. Okita! Okita! I ran towards Okita, rushing to support his upper body, which was stained red. Not even the pain in my shoulder, which only moments before was searing, could stop me. Oh! Okita, please hang in there! Above us shone the distant light of the moon, which had made brilliant the scattered pools of blood.
肩大丈夫？痛かったでしょ。
Even at a time like this, Okita showed more concern for me than for himself. I felt so pitiable that I could have cried. Believe me, I'm fine. This pain is nothing. This kind of gash will heal itself right away. Okita looked pale as snow, but he forced a timid smile.
君が強い子なのは知ってるけど、こんな時まで強がらなくていいのに。
From his chest trickled a thick, steady stream of crimson blood. I had to assume if his heart were to stop beating, that would mean the end for the two of us.
さっき
Suddenly his lips moved.
さっき言ってくれたよね。僕のことが好きだって。
He reached his blood-stained fingers to my cheek.
もう一度聞かせてくれる？
Oh! I love you. Okita. I love you more than anyone in this entire world. Okita wished it were so. I would say to him 100 times, until my lungs could no longer draw breath to give those words flight.
嬉しいよ。僕と生きていきたいって君が言ってくれたから。近藤さんがいなくなった後も生きていけるって思ったんだ。
Tears began streaming from my eyes, flowing so heavily that it was difficult to see Okita through them.
僕の残りの命は全部君にあげてもいいって思ってたんだけど。
His shaking fingers meekly wiped some of my tears. But they did little to stop the rest as my cheeks burned hotly beneath puffy eyelids. I watched a soul drop land on his cheek.
僕を許して。君を一人にしてしまう。
Why? The only thing that could numb the pain in my shoulder was the anguish killing me inside. Accepting the turn of events in front of me proved to be an excruciating endeavor. It all hurts far too much. It was maddening. Why would you say such a thing? The warmth slowly started leaving Okita's body. He glanced down, holding my hand gingerly. Then he looked into my eyes, and our lips met.
寂しい。
The fingers that had been stroking my cheeks stopped suddenly, as if they had no strength to continue.
君と離れたくない。
Okita's words tipped heavily from his mouth. His sincerity was so sweet, but each passing minute brought me closer and closer to having to accept that he was what was to come. Me too. I don't want you to be taken from me. This was far from the end for which I had hoped.
ねえ、千鶴ちゃん、声を聞かせて。
Okita! No! While Okita's eyes were looking directly at me, I had noticed they weren't focusing at all. His lips shivered helplessly, struggling to find form.
ごめんね、千鶴ちゃん。
These words were his last. Okita? I feebly called his name, only to hear no answer. He would no longer say my name. He would no longer wipe away my tears. Not a single glimmer of light would ever emerge from those precious pools of green in his eyes. Okita, answer me! Onegai! I yearned for all of this to be a joke, to hear Okita snap back from this and utter my name once more. All I could do was hold his lifeless body in my arms. Okita! Okita made me realize that there would come a day where our time spent together would end. I had just hoped that such a day would be far into the future, that we could delay our farewell indefinitely. I wish I never knew how painful a farewell could be. Man, the guide person was right! Someone is mercilessly cutting tons of onions! Oh god! I actually cried for Okita. Okay. Oh my lord. Okay. The soulless eyes. When his eyes became soulless. Holy. And I'm sorry if that last scream peaked. One, I was getting very into it. Two, I had to at least scream his name once at the end. Because I knew it was going to be the last time we ever said it. Three, this game loves making me scream Okita, so I might as well give it one last go. But oh. Okay. Alright. Game, you got me. Oh, you got me, game. I'm sniffing. Because I cried for Okita.